In the Middle East, Israel conducted a wave of airstrikes across Lebanon, targeting a financial association linked with Hezbollah. These blasts were right next to Beirut's airport. Israel's defense forces promised to carry out a large number of strikes on the organization it says finances Hezbollah activities. Briar Stewart is in Jerusalem tracking the situation tonight, and Briar, Israel warned these strikes were coming.
Just before the strikes got underway, Ian, people located near specific buildings were alerted that they need to leave quickly and be at least 500 meters away. There were reports that sidewalks and streets were clogged with people trying to get out of the area. Now, Israel is targeting the financial arm of Hezbollah, a group that has been declared a terrorist organization by several countries, including Canada. Specifically, they're targeting a financial institution called Al-Qard al-Hassan. There's 30 branches across Lebanon, and not only is it used by Hezbollah, but by a few thousand Lebanese residents as well. There are reports that there were a few dozen strikes across the country tonight, and as Israel continues its offensive there, it is also heavily targeting northern Gaza. Rescuers believe that underneath all of this, people still may be trapped. This block is in the city of Bet Latia in the north of Gaza. It was hit by strikes late Saturday night. We rushed out to the screaming of women and children. We found out that our neighbors were targeted with bombs, says resident Ahmed El-Hajim. The injured, including young children, were taken to one of Gaza's remaining hospitals. The dead were lined up outside. Health officials say at least 87 were killed in the strike. Israel's military calls that an exaggeration.
See, the way that they're going to be able to spin this now is now that Sinwar is dead, they're going to blame Sinwar and blame like October 7th and the resistance for all of this, because they're going to say, look what you made us do to you. And that's why these types of reports are done. Right? They are extremely biased, but then also do this plausible deniability where they show the fucking war crimes, but then frame it as, again, look what you made us do to you. If you didn't do October 7th, we wouldn't have done this to you.
Its targeting of northern Gaza, where it says Hamas militants have dug in, is visible here, just 2 kilometers away. It feels much further. This crowd is here for the start of a 2-day event focused on the future of Gaza. They're not talking about rebuilding it, but how to resettle it. Those gathered here are Israeli settlers. Hundreds of thousands of them live in the occupied West Bank, and those here have their sights set on Gaza. What do you want to see happen to Gaza?
I want to see it full of life. The only way to see it full of life, it's with Jews live there.
As for the war being waged,
does it not concern you that there's just like blatant Jewish supremacy being presented in this passive way? What the absolute fuck was that? For the only way for there to be life is for Jews to live there in response to settler colonialism in fucking Gaza after a genocide is taking place. And the CBC just quick cuts away from somebody saying, it's insane. What the fuck?
across the field, Chaim Walzer wishes Israel pushed harder from the beginning.
In all this battle, a lot of Jewish soldiers were killed because we had too much empathy, which we shouldn't have had. But
Too much
empathy. Any other nation would make it much worse.
Israel says it will.
Again, like, this is extremely problematic fucking talking points being presented in response to a fucking genocide. Other nations wouldn't have had as much empathy, is what the man said. And they're not pushing back. It's just being presented in this fucking passive way and then a hard cut to something else. It's pretty pathetic.
We'll persevere until it's rooted out all militants. Just what will become of Gaza?
To be honest, if you want to be completely honest, at this point, if they were to settle Gaza, that would be a fucking war crime, right? No one would recognize it. And the people who were complicit in Western nations, like say the fucking news, would be, you know, eventually sought out as aiding and abetting these war crimes. So I didn't even understand how they could give that, at least push back to say what I just said, that if they were to do that, it would be a fucking war crime. They don't even recognize the settlements that they already had in the West Bank.
Gaza's blackened neighborhoods is still very unclear. The UN has condemned the strikes in northern Gaza. Humanitarian groups have called the situation dire. There's not enough aid, and the hospitals that are functioning are overwhelmed.
Barry Stewart in Jerusalem.